Today's video is yet another tier list, and it's not the same, it's actually going to be quite different in some areas. We felt that it was important to make a video separate for Platinum and below and Diamond and above. And there's really obvious reasons for this. A perfect example is Akali and Ryze. Akali and Ryze do incredibly poorly as you go down in rank. So why would we end up bothering rating everybody on the same scale when that just doesn't fit? Hey guys, listen up, we have a 50% sale on the GameLeap website right now. Take control of your games by learning from our exclusive Challenger courses that you cannot find anywhere else. Click right here to get started now. As always, we're gonna start with mid lane, and our first highlight here is Diana. This champion is insanely strong. She's got damage, mobility, survivability, and she uses Conqueror, so she has healing too. For the best mid lane pick on this patch, look no further than Diana. With Diana being so strong though, there's been a high amount of laners who are trying to match her. We see a lot of assassins picked in response to this champion being so strong. The assassins just do so much damage that they overwhelm her in the early game and never allow her to get to a point where she's strong enough to fight the way that she wants. This is why we're seeing champions like Fizz, Echo, Katarina, Talon, and Qiyana doing very well. They have the potential to catch Diana out and kill her early, and even if that doesn't work, as assassins they naturally have the ability to roam and get kills elsewhere, specifically in the bot lane. Right now, as a mid laner, it is important to be able to bring your strength to the bot lane. Roaming bot lane and snowballing both yourself and your bottom lane is incredibly powerful right now. This is why we're also seeing champions who can shove the wave and roam really well. Assassins being one of them, but right beneath them, we see champions like Rumble, Ahri, Akali, and Ryze doing really well too. Because we're seeing a lot of mobility and damage taking over the mid lane, Cassiopeia and Vlad are also doing quite well right now. They've got a way to shut down incoming damage dealers and can sustain really well in fights, especially when they manage to land key abilities. When you're playing mid lane right now, you absolutely want to be careful when you pick control mages and other champions who have rough early games. Picking somebody like Victor or Nico or even Syndra could be a really big problem if you're playing against one of those really strong assassins. They're just going to be able to run you over if you aren't able to pressure them enough in the laning phase. It's high time you get the chance to take control of your games, so make sure that you don't miss out on our 50% off website sale. We have tens of thousands of members and we've gotten tons of positive reviews. Our website is the only place where you'll find in-depth courses for the strongest champions for every lane and much more. There's new Challenger content coming out every single day, and I've personally created dozens of videos for the site that you won't be able to find anywhere else. Get your annual membership at just $3 per month right now, so don't wait, go ahead and join us. With our mid lane list covered, let's move on up to the top lane. The number one biggest man up top, by far, no contest, is Set. For a little while, we thought, oh, okay, maybe he's just good, he's new, you know, he's not crazy, but he's new, people don't know what to do, he's just strong, it's fine. No. We've been taking a look, and oh my god, Set literally does not lose lane to anybody. There is a reason why his win rate has climbed to over 56%, and why his ban rate is almost the same number. If you don't pick or ban Set, you are just asking yourself, how do I lose the least? And that is not where you want to be when you're thinking about playing your best in a game. He is so strong that he has single-handedly warped tier lists across the board. If he's not banned, you have to be playing something that at least does okay into him. Nobody has above a 48% win ratio against Set. That is ridiculous. Right now, that's why our S tier looks the way it does. Kled, Darius, Ornn, Fiora, Vladimir, and more do okay into him, but they don't win most of the time. And when this Giga Broken champion is banned, they also do quite well in their own right. Darius, Kled, and Ornn are very strong right now, and in response to that, we've seen a lot of champions who can trade with them and go toe-to-toe rise in popularity. Outside of those heavy hitters, we're seeing a large focus on the early game and counter picks. That's why we're seeing a lot of the generic tanks who have good survivability and some sustain find their way towards the upper ends of play. People like Maokai and Malphite, and to an extent, Shen are doing pretty alright right now. These champions can make it through laning phase, even if it's a bit of a rough time for them, and then transition to a point where they're very useful for their team as a whole. The last thing that we're going to mention about top lane is the success of Quinn. She's actually been performing very well lately, and we think that it's in response to all of these melee brawling champions who just can't close the gap with her. That being said, when you're playing her, it can be very scary if you're up against somebody like Riven or Akali or even Mordekaiser, the kind of champions who can really give you the beatdown. You might want to just save Quinn as a specific counter pick for champions like Sett, Kled, Darius, and those types. With top lane wrapped up, let's hop on into the jungle. And there's been a lot of change in the jungle recently. Yeah, Echo and Karthus are still top dog, and Olaf is still doing pretty well. However, we've got Sett jungle performing incredibly well right now, and Ivern is also smashing the competition. Shyvana has been catapulting in win rate each patch, and this one is no exception. We're still seeing good numbers from assassins like Rengar and Kha'Zix, and the more bruisery side of things in Rek'Sai and Warwick and Trundle are also doing quite well. Really, there's no clear lead here about what types of champions do best. What is certain though is that Echo, Elise, Sett, and Karthus are a step above the rest. But that step isn't as big as it used to be. Now we've got a much larger selection of champions who are just about equally as strong. You're not just looking at 2 or 3 champions who absolutely dominate everything else. Now we've got something along the lines of 10 champions being over 51% win rate, with some of them reaching about 54. We definitely need to be on the lookout for buffs to any of the champions in S and A tier. Even just a small buff might set them way beyond the rest of the competition right now. Now that we've spent a good amount of time talking about the top of the line here, let's talk about the champions who are really just going in a downward spiral. You definitely want to avoid champions like Jax and Sylas. For some reason, people keep trying to play them and make them work, but they're just not in a good spot right now. The meta definitely doesn't favor them, and they're just kind of weak. Champions like them who heavily rely on levels and gold are just not that good to play. There are times when they can work, and that's great, but if there's one thing that you absolutely should avoid 100% of the time, it's playing Qiyana jungle. This champion, with the nerf that she got, is now in the dumpster in this role. Don't do it. Do yourself a favor. Do your whole team a favor. Make sure that nobody in the jungle is playing Qiyana. Even a champion like Volibear, who is incredibly simple and weak to a ton of the meta, is doing better than she is. With jungle out of the way, let's jump all the way across the map down to bot lane. There are 2 champions who have proven themselves to be a mile above the rest. Senna and Miss Fortune are just stomping almost every lane they come across. They have the range and high damage to combo with the key supports right now in this meta. Let's not forget that both of them are pretty good at sustaining, Senna especially with her Q healing on herself and her allies. Aside from these 2 AD carries, there are only 2 other traditional AD carries who seem to be able to hold them in check just barely. Jinx and Jhin seem to be stacking up okay against Senna and Miss Fortune right now. Aside from that, Yasuo is the only other one able to match their dominance. With the high amount of hook and engage supports in the meta right now, these champions are all doing very well. With these champions being the strongest of bot lane right now, they're also keeping somebody like Vayne in check who excels against the very tanky supports in the bot lane who are very popular right now. We've seen a steady downwards trend on a lot of the AD carries who are at the bottom of this list. Kai'Sa, Xayah, Sivir, and Ezreal are all feeling pretty bad about themselves right now. And a lot of other AD carries who found themselves building Stormrazor have now gone a little bit lower down the list. That 5 AD nerf has actually been enough to knock them down another peg on the ladder. In a case like Jhin, we've actually seen players completely transition away from building the item, and even some experimenting with lethality instead. Even with all the punishment for immobile bot laners, we still see Ashe and Varus in a pretty good spot right now. It seems like there's a lot of demand for their initiation. With all of the mobility around, you need some way to be able to slow down your opponents or speed yourself up to catch them, and Varus and Ashe bring that in some way or another. With all the engagements going on, you're definitely not going to be able to just sit back and do nothing and farm to the late game. And since we're talking about engaging, let's move on to support here and talk about the big 3. Nautilus, Leona, and Blitzcrank are excelling in this meta right now. They have insane win rates and very high pick rates. In response to all of this heavy engagement going on, we're seeing Taric do extraordinarily well. The supports who have some form of disengage or survivability for their team are very important right now. Even Bard is doing exceptionally well compared to in the past. The ultimate means a lot for saving his team and stopping the enemy. Somebody important to talk about here is Morgana. You might think that she's very good as she has CC and the Black Shield to keep her AD carry safe, but Leona, Nautilus, Blitzcrank, and a few other champions just overwhelm her completely. She also has no agency against a lot of the top AD carries. It's really difficult for her to play into Senna and Miss Fortune. On the flip side, we have somebody jumping up from the very depths of the support pool. Really, in the past, Sona would be considered average at best, but her E change on 10.2 has been massive for her. She now has the highest win rate out of any support on this patch. The increased mobility from her E allows her to outrun people who have Moby boots, and that's very important. This means that her roaming potential and speed back to lane are all very high. Her ability to dodge skill shots is also aided by the massive movement speed increase. Even with all of this in mind, it's still incredibly risky to play against teams that have high engage, especially if they have an engaging support. Even if you are playing Sona with that E movement speed buff, well, you can't avoid a Nautilus ulti, it's just not possible. That's why we rank her a little bit lower than you might expect for her current performance on the patch. A lot of Sona's Enchantress counterparts are doing really well right now, like Lulu and Janna. They have the disengage and protection that you really want when playing against those high engaged champions. With all of that out of the way, we have finally covered everything that we're gonna highlight in our tier lists. What do you guys think? Do you think that we misranked anybody? Feel free to let us know in the comments. We are always going to be updating and changing our tier lists as each patch comes out. We want the most up-to-date information to give you guys the best edge possible. Don't forget to join our website right now during our winter sale. It's just $3 a month and we have full refunds if you feel unsatisfied with our product. But we know that you will because we have tons of challenger level videos all waiting for you to help you win your games. So go ahead and see for yourself by clicking right here.